This is not a foxhole. This is the rich earth of my world. Dirt I threw in handfuls on the coffins of troopers that came before me. Those who stood in the ranks on the bastion wall, lasgun in hand, and told the eye it would not have our future. This is not a foxhole. This is my world. This is not a foxhole. It is my home. The place I have shared with my comrades, eating, laughing. A hole that does not feel empty, for we fill it with light and courage, and where I have seen them pass into the Emperor's light. This is not a foxhole. It is my home. This is not a foxhole. It is my fortress. It is home, world, and casa I have dug with my own hands. A legacy that was bequeathed to me, to meet the enemy blade first as we have always, and I will not leave it, not surrender it, not take one step back, for I have dug my fortress, and will hold it. For this is not a foxhole. It is a grave. The Cadian Shock Troopers are a regiment of the Astra Militarum, the most recognizable and revered branch of the Guard by no slim margin. The honor roll of these disciplined warriors is vast. Originating from the fortress world of Cadia within the Segmentum Solar, this linchpin of the Imperium's domains has been fought over for millennia, as myriad Xenos have settled its soil, benefiting from underground Necron complexes which fuel the planet's Blackstone pylon network. This vanguard against the denizens of the Eye of Terror proved invaluable in stemming the tide of chaos for millennia. Aiding in the constraint of the Eye of Terror's expanse, unknown to the Imperium for much of its colonization, its original denizens nonetheless fell victim to the thrall of the ruinous powers due to their close proximity to their domains. Noted for their violet irises, said to be a consequence of their proximity to chaos, their primitive forebears hearkening from the Age of Strife retained cultural ties to the Wordbearer's Primarch, Lorgar Aurelian, and in turn aided his pilgrimage during the Great Crusade. Ensuring the Rainmaker's fealty to the gods of chaos, their service was repaid with cyclonic torpedo bombardment to bury the evidence of their heresy. The subsequent civil war of the Horus Heresy, ravaging the Imperium's domains, with the traitors' retreat into and resurgence from the Eye of Terror leading to Abaddon the Despoiler's first Black Crusade, a cordon of this dangerous sector of space was required. Repopulating the planet during the 32nd millennium, Cadia was transformed into a fortress world using high Terran architectural construction, the fallout from Abaddon's second Black Crusade of 597.M32 proving its insufficiency in staving off chaos. Rebuilding Cadia as the most fortified planet in the Imperium, second only to Holy Terror in its defensive countermeasures, their vigil of the so-called Cadian Gate was arguably the most perilous posting for any warrior of the Imperium to endure. A byword for resolute tenacity throughout every Imperial bastion, the Cadians bled the pawns of chaos until the closing days of the 41st millennium. Their homeworld sundered due to the acts of Abaddon the Despoiler during his devastating 13th Black Crusade. Such is the contempt and righteous defiance of these soldiers, the war cry, "Cadia stands," coined by their indomitable leader, Lord General Ursarkar Creed, bellows from their lungs as the survivors continue to fight across untold war zones of the Imperium's domains. Forged into elite warriors by combat made against heretics, Xenos and demons, each soldier is raised from childbirth to fight against the enemies of the Emperor, and said to be capable of stripping and reassembling lasguns by the age of 5, and being proven marksmen by 6. Inducted into the Cadian Youth Army at the age of 14, regarded by their kin as White Shields before serving their planetary defense force, the Interior Guard. Comprising thousands of full-strength regiments, each rivaling the entire manpower of many contemporary Astra Militarum forces, those who did not remain in service to the military, regardless stood ready to be drafted for the defense of Cadia. Benefiting from veteran squads, in excess to all Astra Militarum contemporaries, due to their excessive combat-to-population ratio, the officer cadre of Cadia rely heavily on the teachings of the Tactica Imperium to hone their excellent strategic acumen. Capable of blunting enemy aggressors through attrition alone, their astounding tithes of soldiers to the Departmentum Unitorum are never outright rejected for service, by virtue of the regiment's legendary pedigree. Their influence felt on untold worlds across the length and breadth of the galaxy. Even prior to the fall of their homeworld, the Cadians were widespread in their deployments. Upholding discipline as their single most prized virtue, the regiment honor the proud history of their sundered homeworld by upholding their peerless martial deeds. Their example so vaunted that many regiments adopt elements, if not outright copy, their battle doctrines. When reinforced by conscripts not of Cadia, such aspirants nonetheless strive to prove themselves the equals to such valiant soldiers. Trained from a young age to be wary of all who bear psychomutations and the inherent enticements of chaos corruption, their stubborn refusal to turn to the thrall of chaos is galvanized by their shame due to their failure to protect Cadia. Establishing a new base of operations within the Agrippina system under the guidance of General Maximus Octavian Gruber III, the Cadians fought the Chaos Warband, known as the Sons of Malice. Embittered towards the Cadians due to their intervention destroying their own homeworld of Skelos, the orphaned Astartes forced a last stand to be made on the ice moon of Faith's anchorage, until aid from Admiral de Armitage and the Space Wolves chapter of Astartes purged the heretics. Liberating the Agrippina system from the oppression of chaos, the industrial world of Kairos was renamed New Cadia by General Isaiah Benedict, and now stands as their new bastion. Nostalgic for the bountiful, heavily militarized and well-defended environments they once benefited from, their proclamation that the planet broke before the Guard did instills within the Cadians a zeal which cannot be eroded by the forces of chaos. Requiring a dedicated branch of the Departamento Munitorum to enable administrative and logistical support, hundreds of commanders at the head of thousands of officers, leading millions of souls, fight simultaneous battles across known space. Overseen by colonels, often born of Cadian nobility, the sheer size of the regiment makes promotion past this rank during active war zones pointless, with a rare few exceptions made for singular individuals. Charging into the fray, at the head of their command platoons, volleys of missiles and mortar fire herald the arrival of such imposing senior officers. Those who flee from such charges are gunned down by commissars, no matter their status. Drawing members of the commissariat born from Cadia, unlike the tradition of many regiments to be assigned outsiders, such are the remarkable deeds of the Cadians that the Departamento Munitorum allows for such favoritism when possible. Supported by company commanders, typically ranked as captains, who serve directly under the commissars, such officers benefit from smaller command units, approximately the size of a platoon. The size of each company, ranging between 100 to 400 men, 2 to 6 platoons comprise companies which rally around their command squad, spearheaded by a lieutenant. Such veterans commanding 2 to 6 squads in turn. Each squad contains 10 soldiers, led by a sergeant, armed with a variety of weapons such as las guns, grenade launchers, missile launchers, las cannons, heavy bolters, plasma guns, and melter guns. Favoring Chimera personal carriers to best unleash their forces to the front lines, command squads venture into the thick of fighting, using their voxcasters to organize simultaneous attacks. Assigning mechanized transports to any squad at its own discretion, the Departamento Munitorum also allows for additional soldiers, armor, and allied regiments to assist platoons should their need be dire. Disallowing untrained officers to lead their men, nepotism, while not disallowed, does not fester into allowing weak-willed aristocrats to lead the Cadian regiments into battle. Their commanders regarded well by all branches of the Imperium as battle-hardened and worthy leaders. Armed with M36 Cantriel pattern short-barreled lasguns, the manufacturers of both Forge Worlds and fiefdoms of Cadia's bloodline produce standard-issue armaments to the highest specifications. For while their arsenal is by no means potent compared to many elite forces, it is nonetheless robust. Protected by camouflage Aquila pattern helmets and flak armor, on rare occasions, war zones require the adoption of frigid environment survival suits, which pump heated air to prevent hypothermia and other such ailments when deployed to harsh ice worlds. Benefiting from heavy equipment, such as Lehman Russ tanks to destroyer tank hunters, every soldier and armament is painted with 3-digit squad numbers, with command squads requiring only 2 numbers, the lower the number denoting the most elite soldiers. The finest of their troops, known as the Kassakin, these grenadiers on par with the skill of the Departamento Munitorum's Tempestus Scions, once safeguarded the fortress world of Cadia as its premier defenders. Derived from the fortress cities of Cadia known as Cassers, each is hand-picked during their training as a White Shield. These warriors bearing the Caducades Sea Eagle brand proudly on their necks, standing firm when even veterans of the Cadian shock troopers falter. Their endurance increased with minor biological modifications to their musculature. Each Kassakin is clad in carapace armor typically carrying Helgun, Lucius Patton hotshot lasguns into battle. Their sealed armor deflecting small arms fire as their lasguns cut down throngs of enemies. Each sergeant is entrusted with mightier weaponry, such as power swords and hotshot las pistols. Creative in their application of frag and crack grenades, the destruction of their homeworld requires the need for the Kasrkin to pass on their training regime to new generations personally, to prevent their skills being lost to time. Veteran Kasrkin, prized by generals of the Astra Militarum to serve as personal commandos and honor guards. It is for the Cadian High Command to decide who is worthy of receiving squads of the greatest soldiers of the Astra Militarum. Voluntarily marching into the most deadly war zones, should a chance to avenge their homeworld present itself. No heretic is safe from the wrath of Cadia, as its vengeful children drown the horizon with their countless number. Honored beyond all by the Imperium for their stalwart vigil to cast back the endless tide of darkness. No sons nor daughters of Cadia shall rest until the dark gods are finally purged from existence.